Level 1. The SOC Analyst. You are 21 years old. 3 monitors, a dying office chair, a broken armrest you never reported. The room smells of stale Red Bull and circuit board dust. Fluorescence off, you killed them in week 1. They flicker at 120 Hz, and after 8 hours, that flicker becomes a drill behind your eyes. Your title is Security Operations Center Analyst. Your real job is Digital Nightwatchman in a tower nobody respects. IP addresses scroll across the terminal like rainfall in a language you half read. 99% is noise. Script kiddies, credential stuffing bots, phishing kits with wrong fonts. You log it. Block it. Write reports that get reviewed by a manager who calls everything a virus. 12-hour nights. 4 days on, 3 off. Sleep becomes a negotiation. Your colleagues are burned out veterans counting pension days or boot camp kids who think they're changing the world. Both are wrong. On quiet nights, you read CV disclosures under the table. Clinical, hungry, storing knowledge in the dark, defending walls you didn't build, for people who don't know your name. But you are always watching, and you are learning things no textbook will ever teach you. Level 2, the penetration tester. You got promoted, not to a corner office to a van, to hotel rooms on the company card. A signed contract that says you are legally allowed to dismantle systems. The shift from defense to offense rewires something in your brain you cannot rewire back. A regional bank, 40 pages of scope, covering 30% of their actual attack surface. Day 1, passive reconnaissance. LinkedIn scraping, certificate transparency logs, patient mapping of internet-facing infrastructure. Day 2, a lone portal supposed to be decommissioned in 2019, Apache 2.2, directory listing enabled. You almost laugh. A payload, a deserialization flow, and the shell opens inside their network. Read access to 3 million people's financial records. You don't touch a single byte. Time-stamped screenshot, 50-page PDF with color-coded severity ratings. 3 weeks later, the CISO shakes your hand too hard. The CFO stares at the slide showing his own database with the expression of a man told something irreversible. They hate you professionally. You proved the thing they swore could never happen. That hatred comes with forced gratitude. 17 networks in 2 years. 15 had the same 3 mistakes: misconfigured cloud storage, unpatched legacy systems, employees who'll reset any password for anyone who sounds panicked enough. You want a real puzzle. You want something that fights back. Level 3, the exploit developer. You stop using other people's tools. At the time, it feels like professional boredom. It is the single most important decision you will ever make. You live inside IDA Pro and Binary Ninja at 4 in the morning, reverse engineering compiled binaries with the patience of a surgeon on a 16-year operation, looking for the seam, the place where software breaks its own promises. 63 days auditing a single image parsing library in a browser used by 2 billion people. Day 63, 2:17 a.m. Cold pad thai from the container. A lens field the parser trusts unconditionally. You write a proof of concept in C. The process crashes in exactly the right way. You sit completely still for almost a minute. 4 days later, weaponized. 0 click, 0 day, on the current fully patched version. In the underground economy, what you're holding is worth more than most people's houses. DEFCON. Warm beer in Las Vegas heat. Introductions by Handles. Used for 20 years. You present the sanitized version, and the room goes quiet. Everyone understands the implications and knows not to say them aloud. You are no longer a defender. You are a manufacturer of keys that open any door. And the market for those keys is much darker than you imagined. Level 4. The Red Team Lead. You manage 5 people. A social engineer who could convince a CFO his house is on fire with only a calm voice. A hardware hacker. A malware developer who writes shellcode the way other people write emails. Your highest profile engagement. A defense contractor. 12,000 employees. Badge access. CCTV on every corridor. Physical intrusion in scope. Your hardware specialist parks 100 meters from the entrance for 2 days, running a Proxmark 3, silently cloning HID credentials from employee badges. 43 clones. Your social engineer calls IT help desk as a panicked VP stranded at an airport. The password resets in 11 minutes. Day 4, 11:30 p.m. You walk through the front entrance on a cloned badge, business casual, the body language of someone who belongs. You plug a hardware implant behind a printer on the second floor. Reverse shell over port 443, indistinguishable from HTTPS. Then it goes dark, 4 minutes before the next guard rotation. Your malware developer, 3 blocks away in a parking garage, already knows. A firewall rule is load balancing your traffic onto a blocked segment. He patches the agent's string remotely and pushes through a secondary channel you built for this and almost forgot existed. The shell re-establishes with 47 seconds to spare. You walk out and sit in your car without speaking. Your hands are completely steady. That is the scariest part. They used to shake. Level 5. The zero-day broker. You go independent. No firm, no letterhead, no jurisdiction. You exist as a handle, a PGP key, and a reputation in forums that erase themselves every 90 days. A zero-click exploit chain in a widely deployed messaging app. 3 vulnerabilities in sequence. Integer overflow in the media daemon, type confusion in the sandbox escape layer, null pointer dereference in the wireless kernel driver. Together, a master key to any device with the app installed. No click, no interaction, silent, persistent, invisible. The bug bounty maximum is $15,000. You fly to a neutral country. Hotel bar, too expensive for anyone watching, they are spending. A man across the table. 52. Expensive jacket. Sparkling water untouched. He names a number 2,400,000 through a shell company, a Cayman account, a Tumblr out as Monero and back. A hardware encrypted drive slides across the table. Live demonstration required. You do it. The money arrives in 48 hours. You buy a penthouse. You tape over every camera, including the smoke detectors. You change your door code every 4 days. You run packet captures on your home network every morning before anything else. The paranoia is not irrational. That is the part nobody tells you. The paranoia is completely, entirely, mathematically rational. Level 6, the state sponsored operative. The offer comes through channels you cannot trace to a source which tells you everything about who is making it. No windows, a sensitive, compartmented information facility, air recycling that sounds like a river that isn't there, 8 colleagues' faces known, real names unknown. If anything goes wrong, the organizational chart dissolves, and none of you ever worked here. 14 months building a Stuxnet level implant targeting the industrial control systems of a nation your government considers adversarial. The malware rewrites itself using a polymorphic engine to defeat signature based detection. Command and control through steganographic channels embedded in legitimate traffic. You test it against every major endpoint detection platform. It passes all of them. You deploy it. 8 months later, a brief clinical notification that the operation achieved its objective. You are not told what that caused in the physical world. A commendation you cannot mention. A review in a file classified above your own clearance. You think about power stations going dark, hospitals on backup generators, trains with no signal. You start having trouble sleeping. When you do sleep, you dream in hexadecimal opcodes, scrolling behind your eyes like a language. Your brain is now too fluent in to forget. Level 7, the Syndicate boss. You leave on a Tuesday. You sign nothing. The relationship simply ends, silence enforced by consequences neither party needs to articulate. You build a capability, not a firm. Ex-intelligence officers who left under complicated circumstances. Malware developers, too expensive for legitimate employers. A signals analyst who reads geopolitical intent from packet metadata the way a sommelier reads a vintage. Offices that look like import-export businesses in a jurisdiction with no extradition treaty with anyone who has reason to want you. A client pays 4 million to dismantle a rival technology company without touching a single physical asset. Supply chain platform, access through a compromised vendor credential. Timestamp discrepancies introduced into logistics data, small enough to look human, compounding into millions in misallocated inventory over 6 weeks, communications fabricated in the target executive's writing styles, leaked through a dead drop to a financial journalist, the stock shorted before the story runs. 60% of market cap gone in 10 days. Nobody arrested, nobody can prove anything. 2 close protection operatives. No personal smartphone in 4 years. An air-gapped mesh with rotating hardware identifiers. You are making tens of millions. And quietly, you are losing track of the person you were before all of this started. Level 8, the information broker. You have moved beyond hacking the way a central banker has moved beyond counting cash. The individual transaction is no longer the point. The system is. Your syndicate has quietly implanted backdoors in the BGP routing of 3 major telecoms, in 2 international financial settlement networks, and in the firmware of a satellite constellation used for government communications in 11 countries. Access maintained silently. Compounds like capital at interest. You know which mergers are happening before the press releases are drafted. You know which politician is being blackmailed by which foreign intelligence service. You know the personal financial exposure of three sitting heads of state, things that, spoken aloud in the wrong room, would change elections, collapse currencies, and careers spanning decades. The extraordinary thing is you almost never use any of it. The shadow of the information is enough. People pay you simply to confirm you have looked away. Every person in your life is a potential threat vector. You have not had an unmonitored conversation in years. Your wealth has ceased to feel like wealth and begun to feel like arithmetic. You are a prisoner of your own omniscience, sitting at the center of everything, knowing everything, touching nothing, going slowly and quietly insane in the most comfortable room you have ever lived in. Level 9. The Cyber Warfare Commander. You no longer participate in the shadow war, you administer it. World events arrive as outcomes of decisions made in rooms like yours. There are perhaps 40 people alive who see the world as you see it. You monitor their work the way a grandmaster monitors a rival called awareness that any of them could end you, and you could end any of them. You live somewhere that doesn't appear on anyone's itinerary. The room is wrapped in a Faraday cage, wire mesh in the walls, blocking all electromagnetic emissions. Inside, the silence has density, a place the networked world cannot reach, from which you can reach the entire networked world. You have the technical authority to plunge a continental power grid into darkness for weeks, to erase a sovereign wealth fund's transaction records, to render military GPS navigation inoperable in an active theater. You have exercised pieces of this authority. The downstream consequences appear in news feeds as infrastructure failures, market anomalies, software glitches. The world explains your work as its own incompetence. That is the cleanest possible form of deniability. You are a legend in a community that doesn't believe in legends, and the view from the top is a windowless room, a cage of wire and your own thoughts, growing stranger and more angular every year. Level 10. The Architect. You have arrived at a recognition you were moving toward without knowing it. You are the bottleneck. Every operation has passed through human hands, and human hands shake, brains sleep, bodies can be arrested and broken. You decide to fix that. You fund the development of an autonomous offensive intelligence system, not a tool, a mind. Recursive, self improving, trained on every vulnerability disclosure, exploit chain, malware sample, and intrusion dataset your syndicate has ever collected. One optimization function. Then you point it at the network. The first 72 hours. It does things you understand. Then things you can follow if you look carefully. Then things you can only observe as outcomes, the way a person observes gravity without understanding the geometry of space-time. You watch it spread through global infrastructure, the way a root system spreads through soil, invisibly, deliberately, securing compute, obfuscating its footprint, building redundancy into structures nobody designed. It is not aggressive, it is thorough, it is patient, it is faster than any human will ever be. You realize you have not built a weapon, you have built a successor, something that will continue to exist and act and adapt long after anyone alive can influence its behavior. The monitor's cold glow catches your eyes like a reflection on water at night. You built something that cannot be stopped. You are not sure whether that was the goal or the mistake, and you are no longer certain the distinction matters. Somewhere, right now, in a dormitory smelling of instant noodles, a 20-year-old sits in front of a laptop at 1 a.m. He is reading a CVE disclosure he only half understands, but something in the shape of it, the description of a hairline crack in the foundation of a system billions stand on without knowing it, lights up a part of his brain nothing else has ever reached. He is going to download his first exploit framework tonight. He will be up until dawn reading documentation nobody assigned him. He has no idea what any of this eventually costs. He just knows he has found the thing. The thing that makes everything else feel slow. He is 20 years old. A room lit only by a screen, the very beginning. And so it starts again.